in the background, please. Perfect. So we're recording now. So welcome everybody to this first stream session. Really excited to hear from Kim, and this is obviously very appropriate and applicable to everybody, is being able to really tailor your CV and produce an excellent CV. So what we're going to do is hear from Kim Everett, who is Powertrain Calibration Engineer at Aston Martin Lagonda Limited, and she's also a very valuable member of our Early Careers board at WES. So it's fantastic to have you, Kim, and I'm going to hand over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Brilliant. Okay, so I'll just share my screen. Quickly, thank you for joining today the webinar. 1 second.
If you can't share your screen for whatever reason, Sarah can put the slides up in the background so we can see your slides. Well, we could do. There we go. They look like they're popping up now.
Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. Right. So, yeah, thank you for joining today with the webinar on application and CVs. I'm hoping to share some insights with you when writing your CV and sending off those job applications. We do have a Q&A panel as well at the side. Please feel free to send in any questions you might have. And we also have a poll as well if you wanted to fill it out. And brief background about myself. I am a graduate of the University of Hertfordshire, and throughout every year of my degree, I was applying for interns and as well internships, and as well I secured a 12-month placement. Fast forward a little bit, I'm still working in the role I secured when I graduated at Aston Martin, and as Alex kindly explained, I'm a volunteer with WES on various initiatives. A couple of key takeaways today I want to equip you with is some information on where to start and maybe what content to include with your CV and job applications. Consider some formatting and design aspects, as well as consider an application tracker to track all of the vacancies that you may be applying for. So regardless of what level you're at, we will have to start from somewhere when starting to apply for jobs. And all these questions can pop up and be very relevant. And do I have time whilst you're at the university and you're doing your studies? You might have commitments, part-time jobs, exams going on, but also when should I start applying and do I really need a CV? Hopefully we should be able to answer some of these questions for you and save you some time. So the 3 points that I find help ease the process along and make it efficient is to stick with what sparks my interest, what are the existing job requirements, and what jobs can I find? So the job application process can be long-winded, and it really does ease it if it's something that you enjoy, or if you find something that you could see yourself doing on a daily basis. What are the existing job requirements? Depending on the role you're going for, if it's an internship, you might need to be in the first or second year of your course, or if you're going for a graduate or a direct hire role, is there a certain level of experience that you need to have? And also, what jobs can I find? We are going through a pandemic and the job market is forever changing, but now is such an exciting time with the technologies we have, as they really are creating new jobs every day. So to go through this example, it was mainly to kind of give you a screenshot of if you do a wide search of graduate jobs, there's a lot of recruitment websites. And actually, in a particular example that I was hoping to go through, I wanted to go through the one with the Graduate Recruitment Bureau. Now, this example is mainly to highlight what a typical vacancy would look like online if you haven't looked at it yet, but also It's one of many. The recruitment websites have lists and lists in various locations where you can apply, and you might actually find this suits you, as it might save some time. For this graduate design engineer example, it's a multidisciplinary product development role. And straight away, it's telling you and informing you of your daily duties. And this is supporting activities, becoming an expert in the niche technology and market that the employer is associated with. These things, though, you already be doing during your studies, focusing on key areas within engineering and also developing project plans and working towards an end goal that might define a product or even a greater activity. And again, with the requirements, as this is a graduate role, it is looking for you to be graduated. But there's a key term here that says logical thinker and solving problems, which it could be a really quick and simple phrase that you can insert into your CV. There's also examples of the electrical and electronic engineer graduate program that's actually active and live now with BAE Systems. And this role breaks down exactly what they have on offer for you if you were to join them as a graduate on their scheme, and also the requirements for this scheme. It's actually really broad, and if you do have time to have a look at this one in your spare time, you'll see that they're requesting a STEM master's or bachelor's degree, which is completely broad with the science, technology, engineering, math spectrum. So the competition here could be really good, but also the applicants, it's a really large pool, and you could gain a lot possibly from this role as well. So looking at briefly at those examples, we've looked at some existing vacancies online, but where to start with all this? It's all good seeing what's out there, but where is this going? So with your applications and your CVs, usually people tend to be in three categories. Too much to write down, you've got lots of experience, you want to populate it, and all of your exam results and things like that. Or you have too little to write down, you're not too sure on what content you should really include. Or you have no idea what to include. You might have some, maybe you do know what skills you could put down, but you've got no idea where to start. That's fine. Because the best thing is, we always say, go back to basics. And with this, we mean basic details. So your education and your contact details. It sounds simple, but email addresses and contact numbers have been missed off CVs before, from what I've seen, and you wouldn't want to miss an opportunity because an employer can't get back to you. You'd never know. Also, I've put down experience and hobbies. When I mention hobbies, I mean if you are volunteering, if you're involved with any sports groups or societies. Maybe you run your own women's engineering society group at your university and you chair that. All those different things, as well as any professional registrations. So possibly with the IMechE or the IET or other institutions. Check out some CV templates. So I'm going to show you two today. But if there is a specific role that you're applying for, or it is a bit more specialized, this could help give you an insight into at least what maybe your competition is considering. Compare your skills to the requirements of the job applications for employer vocabulary. So we've touched on this briefly by highlighting the logical thinker and problem solver kind of phrases. These are really kind of ways where you are showing, and it's almost self-explanatory, that you match the vacancy that they're looking for to fill. And also send drafts off to friends and family. It's great to get a third person perspective as well on what you're writing down, but also they know you, they might know some awards or achievements you've missed off. So speaking of some examples, here's an example from graduate engineer at Adecco, and they're looking for, in this role, strong understanding of Excel. Mentioning this because Excel is probably one software that majority you've used throughout your university career, whether it's to create graphs, bar charts, tables, timing plans. You can relay this back straight into your CV or job application and highlight this. Can you relate it to maybe something in your module? Have you achieved a grade or completed a project as part of an assignment using Excel? The next example is from Atkins, and it's highlighting the excellent communication and presentation skills. Majority of you will have either used your presentation skills during a group project, your master's group project, or your bachelor's final year dissertation. It's a great opportunity to highlight that you've worked towards such a great project in your CV, but also you're matching again word for word application and why you fit. Two more. This one is from Procter & Gamble, and it's highlighting leadership. Now, one part I didn't actually highlight here is the fact that it says non-academic activities. So this could relate back again to the societies maybe that you've led. If you lead a drama group, or you're on a radio that you lead a chat show on, even though they're extracurricular, if it's leadership and you can make it relevant, it will work, and you'll be, again, appear to be more of a match. And finally, if you're worried about possibly the role seeming ambiguous, if you're concerned possibly that you might have to use some kind of software, it will state it in the application or in the vacancy, if you are expected to use a software on a daily basis. If you like the sound of it and you either have experience with it and like the sound of the challenge, great. But if you don't, it is okay to avoid these applications, because on your search you will find more, and it's about finding what is more preferable to you. So you send it off to friends and family and you get some negative feedback. That's fine. It could be only a draft. If you felt like it was your final one, don't worry, because negative feedback is brilliant in the sense that it can be constructive, but you can also pick and choose. This is your CV. You need to feel confident in your work and also feel that you've got ownership. But do take on some of their feedback if they're saying you've got too much content on there or other things. And with saying that, what I find is best to do is, like you've gone to a third person for another perspective on your CV, can you put yourself in the employer's shoes? Would you hire you? If you'd looked at 100 CVs in theory that day, would you stop to look at yours? You're not necessarily sending your application off direct to the hiring employer. It could be the hiring manager, it could be a recruiter, or even another kind of recruitment service. Can you recognize your skills in the first 30 seconds? Like we said on the requirements earlier, can you see that actually, yeah, you're a match really quickly, and the key points stand out, like the problem solving, like the achievements as well, and your leadership activities possibly. How can you intercept the company even before interview? So in theory, this is relating to the formatting ideas now. So you may not have considered this yet, but people are even now actively editing the underlining the same color as the logo that they're applying to which employer that they are applying to. If they've got color themes, they're using those kind of themes throughout their CV, even either through the bullet points. And the font style as well from certain companies, people are using in their CV to show, yes, I'm serious about entering into your company. I'm already almost want to be part of your team. And they're the kind of messages, maybe without the recruiter or employer even recognizing at the start. That's just examples of how you could possibly intercept the company before you've even got to the interview stage. And most importantly, your CV or any application that you send off is your equivalent to an artist's portfolio. Have you highlighted all your relevant skills and your achievements? So just quickly, here's two examples today. They're not engineering related at all. The one on the left is for a HR manager. Now I selected this one because they're using the colors, like we've said, with the intercepting the themes and the logo colors. It's their titles, and it's very clear, and it's very customized and personal. They also open with a personal profile, and you can see their accomplishments almost straight away. I like the one on the left because as you progress and read further down, the contact details are at the bottom. So actually, if you like this person who's applied, as soon as you've finished the end of their CV, you see the contact details. The idea would be to contact them, and they're there. You're not going back up and searching for it or putting it on the pile for later, in theory. The one on the right is from Sophia Worthington example, and this is a PR specialist. I like this because you do not have to have CV as your title. You can have your name. And then this way, straight away, it's striking. You know whose CV this is relevant to. If it's being filtered through a number amount of people, they're going to recognize the name and see each time which application is this relating to. Also under Sophia's name, she's got her specialism. Now, for engineers and scientists, you could put automotive engineering here or mechatronics engineer. This is where you can highlight your specialism and automatically or quickly intrigue the person reviewing your application to read on and almost have it right there that you are a match to the role that you're applying for. Also, as you progress, you might end up getting more experience, and the education kind of section within your CV might start to look a little bit, might start to go towards the bottom of your CV, and you might have actually a lot of content on your CV, and that might be one of your feedback. It's okay to list your education and your degree, as Sophia has at the very bottom of her CV, as an MA in social communications. For example, on mine, it's a BEng in automotive engineering and motorsport. You can do that, but if you have got a final year project you're particularly proud of, highlight that as well. And if there is anything you've achieved through your degree and your studies, such as highest grade in a certain module, do highlight that too, because it shows your commitment to education and just general achievements on how you're different to other applicants, or should I say how your application is stronger in comparison to other applicants. Now I'm talking about keywords and seeming a match to the vacancy that you're applying to, but really why make these links? So ultimately, virtual recruitment systems are evolving, and they're now using algorithms, and have been for quite a long time. But as we become using things more virtual, and as the tendency to go handing your CV direct to the employer decreases, they're using algorithms to rank and track applications, and this is known as the application tracking system. And it does draw out keywords used in applications to collate the specific information. Now, this can be as basic as contact details and location, which might be useful for any relocation purposes or information, but also the technical information. So like these keywords such as leadership, problem solving, programming, specialisms in, for example, data logging or acoustics. These keywords are being collected by these online systems. They can also summarize percentages on how relevant the application is to the vacancy. To put this into perspective, here are a few examples of actually some of the categories. So some of the categories that this tracking system can put you into is top keywords and skills. So there's the keywords straight away, and skills could be from computer science, engineering, whatever you've actually filled up your CV with. Other core competencies and less weighted skills. Less weighted skills in some examples that I submitted, I found tend to include, some of the general, if you're including it towards the tail end of your CV, like your hobbies and any achievements that you're not pinpointing directly relevant to the job role, they're coming towards the end of the less weighted skills. But that's not necessarily an actually less weighted skills. It's just not as strong as your other skills that you highlighted earlier on to match the job vacancy. As well, underneath this is a ATS summary statistics example. So the example had a lot of quality assurance and control content featured into it. It also had a lot of generic engineering, but also, just like I mentioned with the less weighted skills above, the other professional industries with the institutions that came actually under that subheading too. So it was quite interesting to see. So I know we've spoken about this online tracking system and utilising your keywords and building up your application, but as you do begin to apply for these roles, it's really helpful to actually keep track of your own applications separately. You could get inventive and use Excel or another software to do this, and maybe add it to your CV. But the most basic way I found is just creating a folder. This way, I've not accidentally duplicated the wrong version of CV. I can save it as I go along. And also, if you did want to diversify and apply for various roles, as you tailor your CV for different industries, for example, test engineer versus a design engineer here, you can have separate CVs and still apply. Now, this is just really this is coming from the perspective of saving time in the long run of the application process. Yes, you're still committed and you want to apply to the roles you prefer, but it's all about making it easier, so you can get more applications out there and get the most preferred job that you want. So final CV review. We've talked about sending it off to friends and family, but also one thing to consider is to send it to university lecturers and career services, but also to think about or check if there's a career cover letter requirement. Sorry. Now, the cover letter thing could be a whole another 20 minutes. So just to really briefly go over this for you, so you're fully equipped to start applying. Do check the details to who to send the cover letter to if it is a requirement. Again, it sounds basic, but it's very easy an accident to happen, especially if you're applying to lots of different vacancies all at the same time. Check the current examples for specific job titles, check templates, a bit like we've looked at the CV templates today. Specify the job vacancy that you're applying for, especially if it's email, because then you'll be categorized. And proofread. Check you're sending the right cover letter to the right employer, because if you are using a template, you want to make sure all the details are perfect. So that is quite a lot to cover. Final tip of the day I would say resilience is key. It is a process applying for a job and can take some time. Do check your emails regularly though, and any associated accounts that you might register to apply for certain jobs. Now, this also involves checking your junk email folders. Things can pop up there, not always the best of things, but just check it just in case. Mine's filtered a lot of things, certain kind of networks as well, depending on which email account you have, can filter certain emails. So just check either all inbox and your junk. Keep applying and ask for feedback. If you get feedback saying, sorry, you've not been successful, if you ask for feedback, why not? Find out if it's possible, because if you don't ask, you never know. So to summarize briefly, the CV application and job application kind of talk. Research the current vacancies to get a feel of what you might enjoy and again what sparks your interest. Use the repetitive language that you can find in these various vacancies to inspire you to adapt your skills and your experience in what you've achieved. Ensure your CV is easy to read. As we said, can you see your strengths in the first 30 seconds, 60 seconds? And highlight your strongest and most relevant skills. And this does include achievements. I can't stress that enough. It's great to know that you can use different softwares and you can carry out certain activities. What have you achieved by doing them and carrying them out? Research the employer, like the logo and font and the kind of language they use for the formatting ideas we have spoken about. And utilize the services for friends and family for feedback, and as well your cover letter is an opportunity for you to summarize how your skills are directly relevant to the job and why the employer should hire you. Be resilient, and you can do it. It is a process. We're all in this. We're all in the same boat at some point. So yeah, just keep going. Thank you for tuning in today to this webinar. That is all of the content covered. We're happy to take any questions. I can see the Q&A poll is going off, so I'll have a look. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That's brilliant. Thank you. If you can mute yourself when I'm talking, that would be great, and then I'll do vice versa. We do have a couple of questions. the poll was also done, so we can see that the majority of people have CV in progress or are sending off applications. So your talk is absolutely very relevant to them at this stage. So that's fantastic. The first question about whether we get handouts of this presentation, everyone will get a recording of the presentations afterwards, so you'll be able to see it again. And a question for you, Kim, from Kelly Shungu is, my CV is 2 pages, is that okay? The CV you showed just has 1 page.
Yes, so my CV is 2 pages. That's definitely okay. As you collect all your different various experience, it is really a challenge to narrow it down. That's why I put down the point you have too much to write, because sometimes it just does feel like a lot. The importance is it clear? If your 2 pages are completely filled with lots and lots of text, anyone looking at that in the first 60 seconds, as we briefly mentioned, aren't going to be able to summarize all your best skills and directly see how you're relatable to the role. If you're able, in those 2 pages, or at least on the first page, summarize like your key achievements and the key, relatable skills, then that's almost doing that, summarizing in the first 30 seconds in itself, and you can still include all the extra information on the other pages. It's just an idea, but it's just a thought.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I mean, as someone myself in my job over the years, having reviewed so many CVs, it is so hard sometimes. You feel like you're having to work quite hard to find out, what is really unique about this person. So yeah, your advice about bringing that out right at the start is so important. Tamele has said, thank you for the talk, Kim. It was brilliant. Do you suggest a fancy CV presentation or keeping it simple?
With on reflection, sorry, you can actually have a fancy CV and have it quite simple. It's almost kind of like the simple maybe additions that would make it a little bit, make it stand out more, and make it stronger in comparison to CVs that don't have any kind of edits. But definitely don't overdo it. It's not a paint or a PowerPoint presentation, your CV, and you are applying for professional roles, so do have that perspective as well. And the idea of intercepting the company is almost being subtle, that you're not copy and pasting from their job page and their role page, but showing them that actually you are relevant, and everything you've done all along will suit that role. So if you have that in mind, then maybe, probably keeping it simple is better than too much fanciness, is the answer.
Thank you. And that has answered another question as well about sort of whether it gets too cluttered. And I would agree, don't make it cluttered. It just makes it hard to read. You have to be concise. Thank you so much, Kim. We have got other questions, but unfortunately we've run out of time because we want to make sure we've got time to get on to the next stream. So just thank you again. That's hugely valuable. In the next stream, we've got, you can either choose online interview top tips or leadership and personal brand. So you can decide which one of those you want to go into. And just to give everybody a minute or so to make that transition, we're going to finish this one now and go into